What is a function? A function is a reusable block of code designed to perform a particular task. Suppose we want to add two numbers. Then we will declare two numbers, then initialize those two numbers. Then we will add those two numbers and return the result, maybe 3 to 4 lines. But some tasks may be there where you have to write 400 to 500 lines. So in that case, all those 500 lines you have to repeat again and again if you want to perform that task again. And it is not a good practice, right? As a developer, you always remember that you discourage code reusability. Code should be write once and you use it wherever you require it. But don't repeatedly write the same code again and again. Okay. So let us understand it practically, because throughout this course we will learn everything by doing. So let us open JS Fiddle, an online tool to run our JavaScript code, or you can use any online editor. So how to create a function? To create a function, first we will use the function keyword. Okay, then the name of function, let us say add. We want to add two numbers. Then open and closing parenthesis, and within this parenthesis we can pass any argument that we want. Some functions may be there where we don't have any arguments. Let us say display hello. Suppose this is our function. Console.log hello world. Then let us say console.log how are you? Hope everything is fine. Okay, so to understand it in a better way, we wrote only two lines. Now to run this function, we will simply write display hello. So always remember, this name should exactly be same, otherwise it will not execute. So let us copy and paste this one. Now both are same, right? Now let us run our code. You will see hello world and how are you? Hope everything is fine. Now suppose I want to run this same function again. So what I will do, I will copy this one and paste it again. Okay, and now run this again. Okay, let me clear the console first. Yes, then run it again. Okay, so now you can see the output two times, but by writing only this much of code. Okay, that is the use of a function. Suppose we want to write it again, then again we can paste simply the function. Okay, so now look at here, we wrote the function 1 2 3 4 5 6 times, so it will display the output 6 times. Okay, now let us pass some parameters. As we discussed earlier, let us create a function add. So function add, then I will add two numbers, let us say a and b. Okay, so result equal a plus b, and I will return the result. Okay. Now, console.log add 3, 4, and now run it. Let me clear the console and run it again. So see, the output is 7. If I want to add 2 more numbers, but this time different numbers, not 3 and 4, let us say 5 and 4. So clear the console and run it again. Now we can see 9. Okay. So in this way, we wrote our function in JavaScript without types. But as I said you earlier, we will learn TypeScript here, because nowadays TypeScript is the official language of React Native. So let us see the TypeScript version of this function. Okay, so this is the TypeScript function where we are declaring the types. What is the main difference? In this function, we never know that A will be a number or A will be anything else. User can pass anything, right? Suppose I will pass here, instead of 3, Ramesh, because I don't know what should be the value of A. Okay, nothing mentioned here. So now the output is Ramesh, then 4. Why? Because when we are passing a string as the first parameter, the second is automatically converted to string. Now let us pass string, the second parameter is string, and first one a number, and run this. See what is the result. Okay. Now the second parameter is a string, so first is automatically converted to string from number, and it does the string concatenation. Okay, so to avoid this type of errors, let us tell the user that these are numbers. Okay, these are not string. So now the user, when pass the parameter, he will see that yes, for B also I have to pass a number, not a string. Okay, now you know that we need to pass numbers for both A and B. Okay, but what about the result? In this case, our result is also a number, right? So result is also a number, and we are returning that. So here we have to declare that the result is a number. And how we will do that? Here we will write another column and write this. So now we know that the parameters that we pass are numbers, as well as the output is also a number. Then how to write the previous one, where we don't have anything to return? Display output. Suppose this is our function and we simply want to display an output. Or let us modify this one. Let us modify this where we don't have anything to return, but simply we will console log it. So console.log result. Here we are not returning anything, and let us call it directly. Add For the second one, let us say 5 and 7. Okay. So now, directly we are using console log here. So what the add function is returning? Nothing. So when we are not returning anything, we will write here void. Void means we don't want to return anything, or this function will not return anything. Okay. Now you got a clear idea about JavaScript functions. So let us come to our notes again, and we are here, right? So JavaScript functions are fundamental building blocks in both JavaScript and TypeScript, allowing you to modularize and organize your code effectively. Okay. Here is an example of a function add. This is the most common way to define a function, not the only way. Okay. This is called our function declaration. But we can also use function expression like this one. Function constant add equal function. So let us do in that way. So go to our code block again, and this time what we will do, instead of, just a second, yes, so instead of defining it in this way, we will write it like this. Okay. So will it work? Let us run this. Yes, it is still working. But what is the difference in between these two? So let me write both the functions. Okay. First one is add1 and second one is add2. Two types of functions, right? Now let us call both add1 and add2 and run this. Is there any issue? No, there is no issue. But let us do one thing. I write both of these before it, sorry, I forgot here to change it to expression. So add2 equal function. Okay. So add1 is created through function declaration and add2 through function expression. And if we run both of these, then there is no issue. But if we move these two lines to the top of our scope and then try to run it, then see, only add1 is executed, but not add2. Add2 is throwing an error that add2 is not a function. Why? If you remember previously when we discussed about the declaration of variables, at that time we declared a concept called hoisting. So functions, when declared through function declaration, they are hoisted, means they can be called before they defined in the code. Why? Because a hoisted function or hoisted variable moves to the top of its scope. Okay. So here in this case, this add1 is hoisted, so it moved to the top of its scope, but not add2. Okay, because their creation style is different. Got it? So sometimes your program may work in certain scenarios but may not work in other scenarios. Why? Because you don't have that much of in-depth knowledge of JavaScript. So that's why always remember, if you want to run your React Native project effectively, then you have to learn JavaScript effectively. Okay, but don't worry, we will cover each and every concept thoroughly, whatever you need to run your program effectively and whatever you need to be a better developer. Okay, now come to our notes again. So function expression and function declaration, these are two different ways to create a JavaScript function. Now let us see the other ways. Arrow function. Okay, so arrow functions are also functions, but these are introduced in ECMAScript 6, means ECMAScript 2015, ES6, an advanced concept. It provides a shorter syntax for writing functions. Arrow functions don't have their own this concept. So this context we will discuss later on in depth. Now, but during this time we will not discuss that much because it will be heavy for you as we are just starting our learning. So remember, this we will discuss later. Okay. Then anonymous function. In anonymous function, we don't use a name for a function. Then another one is immediately invoked function expression. Okay. So now let us discuss these three. So go to our JS Fiddle and first let us see what is immediately invoked function expression. So here, suppose you want to invoke these functions immediately, not like this. Okay, if we want to invoke add, then you have to call it again, right? But some cases may be there where you want to execute it immediately. And generally, why these if functions are used? These if functions are used in 2000s when this block scope is not evolved, right? There was only way of declaring a variable, that is var, var. So at that time, suppose you want to scope it, you want to limit it within a block, then if functions were more helpful at that time. Okay, but nowadays also sometimes it may be there when you need to execute this one immediately. So let us do the same here. Okay, I wrapped the complete function within parenthesis and then again use this parenthesis to invoke that function. Okay, and here I will pass the parameters that were required. Now let us run this. Okay, so 3 and 5 we added it to 8. Got it? These are called immediately invoked function expressions. Now here let us remove this one and see whether it will execute or not. Now run it. Yes, it is executing. Why? Because as we are not calling that function again, so we don't need a name here, right? So without name also this function will be executed, and this is called anonymous function. Okay. Now instead of writing this function in this way, what we will do, we will remove this function keyword. Okay, and after this one we will use a equal sign and greater than sign, and this we call here as arrow key, and let us run it. Yes, still it is executing. Okay, but here we have to write less code, but the main difference is in this function we don't have a this keyword. Okay, so as I told you, especially I will design another class where we will discuss only about this keyword. So don't worry for this keyword now. Okay, we will not use it for the timing. After learning, we will use that. Okay, So now you know about anonymous function, you know about arrow functions. So how to create an arrow function? We will write something like this. Okay, const keyword, because we will not change this name again and again, right? So don't use let here. We will use const keyword, and we use const wherever we want that to be constant. We want that reference to be constant, right? So here our add reference is constant. We will not change it. Then two parameters, and it will return a plus b, right? This is our function, and to call it we will write add 4 comma 5 and then run it. Okay, let me clear the console and run it. Sorry, we are not console logging it. Let me console log here. So console.log add 4 comma 5, right? Now run it. Yes, here we are. So we added 4 and 5 and returned 9, correct? Now we will remove this curly brace as well. Why? Because in this function we have only one line that we want to return. So we can write it like this. Okay, and run it. Working fine. So some cases may be there where you are returning a simple thing in only one line within that function, and you may use that in a single line. Okay, the requirement may be there. So you can use like this. Okay, this is the short end of that function. But if you want to write in the older way, then you have to write like this: function a comma b and return a plus b. Okay, this is the older way, but after ES6, the new way of writing it is like this. Okay, so when you have only one line in the total function block and that is your return statement, then in that case you don't have to use the return keyword. But when there are multiple lines, then you are compelled to do it. There is no other way. Okay, let us say let result equal a plus b and return our result. Got it? So in this case, we have two statements in our function and the second one is the result. So we have to write it completely. Okay? Got it? Now, so what we came to know, that arrow functions we can use for writing a function in shorthand format. Now similarly with types, so function expression with types, then arrow function with types, okay, then default parameters. If you want the second parameter to get the value of hello automatically, then you need default parameters. Okay, so look at the example. During a program execution, during our practical, we will write certain use cases for this one, so you will get a better understanding. Okay, but for the timing, just go through these notes. Okay,